Let's talk about trad thoughts. What are trad thoughts? Traditional women, right? Quote unquote traditional women. There are no more traditional women. If there ever were traditional women, female nature is female nature. It's always been hypergamous. It's always been subtle and sly. Now, if you listen to my channel, you know that I complain a lot about the 1960s, the civil rights movement, which is fine as far as racial concerns. But what piggybacked along with the civil rights movement in the 1960s was the feminist movement, or I should say radical feminist movement, second wave feminist movement, which was not necessary because they were given their full rights in what was it 1930s when they were given the right to vote, the right to work, et cetera, blah blah blah, right? First wave feminism was fine because it's like, yeah, women aren't second class citizens, quote unquote, per se, right? We would like to be moral and objective people. Women are humans too, so they can have their rights, right? If they were ever denied their rights, that's not wrong. That's objectively not right. That's objectively wrong. Fine. But second wave feminism was a big problem. So if you listen to my channel, you know I bash on second wave feminism because it brought in a lot of man hate. It caused a lot of divorce. It brought in a lot of really insidious concepts into females' minds, and it really just proved that women are weaker than men because they were able to be dislodged from morality because it brought in, it damaged the normality of sexuality, which should be in relationships, not just it promoted promiscuity, my body my choice kind of thing. That's where it all started. 1960s second wave feminism, right? All this crap that we see today with the OnlyFans, blah blah blah. At least the normalization of it started. Now, I think that women always were like this. I think women were always promiscuous. It's just that it was a lot more heavily shunned and shot down before the 1960s, which is why I always talk about the 1960s, how bad it was, because it normalized that, right? It took away the social stigma, which was positive. Social stigma is positive if it enforces, or I should say reinforces, a moral society. But when the 1960s started was what we see today with the rampant OnlyFans, the rampant pornography, the rampant Tinder hookups, the rampant selling yourself, right? Escorts, all this stuff that we see today, Instagram escorts, all the stuff that we see today started in the 1960s. And a lot of these young women who do porn, who sell themselves on Instagram and Twitter, right? These women who fly overseas to go to Dubai, blah blah blah, right? Their mothers were proponents of second wave feminism, right? These women went the other way. These women said, "Oh, I'm no longer going to be, a housewife, a mother. I'm going to, this is where the, I'm a bad bitch started, right? This is where I'm going to be a successful independent woman." This is where all that started in the 1960s. And it's social engineering, is what it is. But with that said, I think that women were always like that. It's just that something came along and gave them a international precedent to do it. Something came along and was like, yeah, I know you always wanted to go be an independent bad bitch and go be a hoe and sell yourself. I know you've always wanted to do that. Now you can do it. Here's your excuse. Men are the problem. Men are evil. Da 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 da. All these lies that second wave feminism came out with gave them the excuse, because it's like, oh yeah, it's like, if you want to disconnect people from God, what do? You tell them lies about God. Oh, God is the problem. God is the aggressor. God's the one who is oppressing everyone. And who would say something like that? God's enemy, right? Who would tell women that men are the enemy? Men's enemies would tell them that. It's social engineering. So and that's literally what happened. These lesbian man haters were the ones who were leading the second wave feminism movement. I've heard people say that first wave feminism was bad. It started back in the 1800s when the concept of feminism was first conceived. Maybe, I don't know. Maybe. But I think women were always like this. I think women were always promiscuous, etc. It's just the reason why I always mention second wave feminism is because it popularized it. It gave it wings. It gave it precedent to come to the forefront, right? So when we're talking about trad thoughts, you have to understand female nature. You have to understand that female nature is opportunistic. You have to understand that female nature is solipsistic. It's self-serving, unless when it comes to children. The only time women are not self-serving is when it comes to children. They will sacrifice for their children. I will say that, and that is a positive thing, right? That it's good that women sacrifice for their children. For whatever reason, there's something within women that loves their children above all, and to whatever extent that's commendable. Although I question whether, should a woman really love a child more than her husband? I don't know. I've questioned that in the past, but I think that they do. I think it's in their nature. A woman will love her child more than you, period, right? A woman will love her child more than she loves a man. That's just, kind of facts. I don't know. It's just in their nature. Why did God create them that way? I don't know, man. People talk about like, oh, there's this Proverbs woman and this woman who, I read something just the other day. I think it said something like, let me see if I could find it. I think I took a screenshot of it. It said, let's see, find you a woman who, oh no, I can't. I think it's on my other phone. Anyway, it's like, find you a woman who does this, and this, and it's like, sticks by you and doesn't judge you and supports you and all this like crap, and I'm just like, yeah, right, man, that woman doesn't exist. Even in the Bible, like, it's like, oh yeah, you find this, if you like Proverbs 31 woman or something like that, it's like, where is she? It's like, you got to have money to even get that woman, right? So if we're talking about trad thoughts, like, here's the thing, man, like, female nature is opportunistic. Female nature is solipsistic, right? Which means it's self-serving and it jumps on opportunities. This is why women have backup men. This is why women, Tom Brady's wife, Gisele Bündchen or whatever, Tom Brady's ex-wife, I should say now, she moved on extremely quickly. I think it was within a month she was already dating some other guy, and the guy was in the picture. The guy was already in the picture before they broke up. So what does that tell you? It tells you that women have backup men. They've got guys in their orbit who are just waiting for the opportunity to slide in, right? Female nature is just vicious. It's just vicious, man. I mean, even take the concept of abortion. I don't know if men could do the same thing. And yes, I know there are men out there who encourage women to have abortions. But I just don't know if men could. I don't know, man. I think men could and would, but it's like in the same numbers as women. I don't know. It's a weird thing when it comes to like, when women want what they want, it's just, anyway, I think you get what I'm saying. But, so let's talk about trad thoughts. My opinion on trad thoughts, and when I say trad thoughts, I mean women who are playing this traditional role, and to me it's role play. They're LARPing. They're role playing because we just don't live in a traditional era. We live in an era where, everything is convenient. We live in an era where we were raised different. We were raised selfishly. We live in a me generation right now. This is not family-oriented generation. This is not a generation that it's just not the 1950s anymore. It's not the same thing. Our culture is very, very different.
In our culture, we encourage women and we celebrate women who are promiscuous. So you're not going to get a traditional woman in that kind of environment. It's just not going to happen. What you're going to get is you're going to get a woman who's an opportunist, and she may have some moral values insofar as like maybe she was raised Christian, but I don't see it. I don't buy it. You know, I'm a Christian. I've been around Christians. Our world is just different, and even in the church, even in Christianity, these women are not. They might be around those type of values, and they might know what those values are. So, at least as much as they can pretend to be proponents of those values, but are they really that way? I don't think so, because it's just too easy. The access to sexuality is too easy for women, and women like sex. It's just there's degrees, and so yeah, they might not be posing naked and having they might not have an OnlyFans. They might not be, um, you know, uh, on Instagram with all their hot pictures or whatever, taking donations from men. They might not be doing that, but you know, I don't think they're not sleeping around. I don't think that they're not tainted. They have. I just don't see it anymore. Back when I was still in high school, I saw it a little bit. Back before the turn of the century, so many years ago, I still saw it, and actually that caused a lot of pain because now it's like it's just you just lump them all into the same category. It's easy. It's like now it's like, well, that girl doesn't exist, so why would I even worry? Why would I even concern myself about like, oh, I gotta go find a wife? There's nothing to choose from. They're all tainted. They're all fallen. They're all it's like a dirty rag. Like, you take this, a dirty rag is usually like a clean towel or something before it gets dirty. It's clean and pure. There's no dirt on it. It's nice and fresh. Might even be fluffy and smell good. And then you take that towel and then you go clean the kitchen or go clean the bathroom, and all of a sudden now it's changed color. It's dirty. It's raggedy, right? You use it a couple times, and it's just the purity of that rag is tainted. And then even after you wash it, you use a dirty rag a few times, it gets dirty, and it gets to the point where it can't be clean anymore. You go wash it, and it's still dirty. It might be quote unquote cleaner than it was before you washed it, but it's never going to be the same as it was before it was used. It's the same with women. It's like, you know, the, you want if you love someone, you want to give them your best. You know. So I remember back, before the turn of the century, when I was still in high school, there was still girls out there who were like pure, and there was a lot of pressure back then because I was like, man, even in high school, 16, 17, I wanted to find love, and there was girls out there who were like, they didn't have sex yet, they were virgins, you could just tell they were shy, they were pure. Fast forward 20 something years later, it's not the same. It's not, man. These girls, by the time they're I dated a girl. I was let's see, I think around 2008 or something, and I was in my like early 20s, um, or I should say mid 20s, and I dated a girl who was 18, which some people would be like, oh, that's robbing the cradle. I think I was like 24, and she was 18. Whatever, I didn't have any concept that it was wrong at that time. Now I probably would look back and be like, she's kind of young. But here's the thing: she was 18, and I remember one time I asked her body count. She had 18 guys. She had slept with 18 guys when she was 18, and I was like, nah, you're lying. That's not true. And she's like, no, it's in my journal. And she showed me her journal of the names of the guys, and she had like descriptions of where they had sex and how they had sex, and like uh, notes about the guy and notes about the relationship, and I was like, wow. And I was dating this girl, and it totally changed my perception of her, and it changed my perception of young women at the time too. It red pilled me. I was like, wow, you know, here you are dating me, you know, and you know, even looking back, I'm like, I'm actually too old for her. It's probably why she likes me because I'm 24 and like I'm kind of cool. I drive a cool car, whatever. And she's 18, and all the guys that she hangs out with, and she graduated high school at that point. She was working on it. She graduated high school and she was working. And I think probably, you know, she just wasn't used to guys being, older and cooler, driving a cool car or whatever. And I remember too, when I was in high school, there was girls who like would reject me because like I didn't, I was like, I think I was on the bus in high school, and there was guys in college who drove like cool Ford Mustangs, and they were like, oh, I like this guy, and they had crushes on these guys who were in college, and they were dating these guys who were in college who drove like cool cars and stuff, and it's like that red pilled me, right? So they were still doing that, even though at that time, because there was no internet, because there was no access to things, there were still pure girls around. Right now, it's like there's just no way. There's absolutely no way that these girls are pure. You know, like I said, I dated this girl who was 18 and she had slept with 18 guys. 18 years old, legal adult, slept with 18 guys by the time she got to be 18. And I was like, what? And it shocked me because, like, first of all, my body count was nowhere near that. I think I had only slept with like 2 other girls when I met her or something like that. And I don't encourage guys to sleep around either, but for me, it's like there's a certain point where it just wasn't working. Like, I couldn't find a wife. I couldn't, I wanted to find a wife too because I was in church a lot in my early 20s. And then something happened where I was like, I kept getting rejected by women in church and I couldn't understand why. And then I kind of pieced it together and I was like, oh, I know why. Because I don't have money. Because I don't have a house. And I looked around and I was like, the guys who are getting wives are the guys who graduated college who have nice jobs. And I realized, well, hypergamy is even in the church, right? And I would say it's possible maybe to find a woman in church who's like a virgin, but I don't even think so in today's day and age. I mean, back when I wanted to find one, I think that was like 2005, and I was in my early 20s, and I was going to college, but I hadn't graduated yet, and I was like, oh, I really want a wife right now. I didn't have the mindset at that time to wait until I graduated, and started making money in order to get a wife. And I'm actually glad that happened now, because I'm like, now I understand female nature. So if I did jump through those hoops and make enough money to get a wife, it's like, think about it, like I'm basically a dancing bear. Like, I only get fed as long as I do the tricks, right? I only get the wife as long as I earn the money. And I realized at a certain point, like, oh, well, there's something wrong with that. Like, to me, that's not love. Like, I shouldn't have to earn money in order to get a wife, And so that kind of ties into trad thoughts. Like, the reason why I say trad thoughts is because these traditional women, they're all thoughts, like, they just pretend not to be, and they know the tricks. They know what traditional guys want, and then they kind of put themselves in that category. Actually, you can go on Facebook and you can follow some of these women who, like, Trump supporting women, women who are like all about guns and stuff. Invariably, in most cases, what you'll see women, who are like, oh yeah, I'm Republican and I support Trump and I support, the gun rights and the First Amendment or the whatever. Is the First Amendment the guns? I don't even know, because I don't have a gun, so I don't follow this stuff. But I think it's the First Amendment, which is the right to bear arms. But I support the First Amendment. woo woo woo, all this stuff, right? And then invariably you'll see them posing for pictures. They're, taking their clothes off, in bikinis with guns and stuff, and it's like, oh really, you represent traditional values. Traditional values are moral family values that are basically, you know, godly values. And you're over here posing with guns in your bikini. I mean, come on, man. That's why I call them trad thoughts, right? So all women are opportunistic. All women are solipsistic. All women, to whatever extent, are exchanging sexuality for resources. Because let's be honest, women are not dating and marrying broke guys. It's the biggest turnoff. They're not dating and marrying guys who don't have ambition. They're not dating and marrying guys who are not successful, who are not competent. This is female nature. So there really is kind of no such thing as this Proverbs 31, perfect woman, blah, blah, blah. You're buying a woman. Let's be honest. You are buying a woman. There's no such thing as like, oh, she's a helpmeet. She's my other half. She's my soulmate. No. The reason why that doesn't exist is because if you don't have money, she will leave you. That's why it doesn't exist. Right? The love between a mother and a daughter, or excuse me, the love between a mother and a son, or a mother and a daughter, or a mother and her child is till death. There's nothing that can separate that kind of love. But the love between a man and a woman is conditional. It's conditional on his ability to provide. It's conditional on his ability to be successful, to be competent. Women will leave a man in the dust who is not these things, and that's just a fact. I'm not saying it's every single case. There are rare cases where women stick with their men through hard times. It does happen. But it's not common. It's rare. It's the exception, and the exception proves the rule. So trad thoughts, traditional women today, like I said, there's really no such thing as a traditional woman anymore because we don't live in a traditional culture. We don't live in a traditional world. So they're really just role playing, and they're basically lazy opportunists, right? They're lazy opportunists who really just want to have an easy life. And this is why they seek high earners. And this is female nature in general. Like, they're going to seek high earners so they could just stay at home and just be, be decor. They're just home decor. That's all they are. They're just bought and paid for. Which is why, to some extent, like, I actually respect women who work a little bit more than that. Like, it's like, you actually have the gumption, you actually have the ambition to go out and get it for yourself. I kind of respect that in some ways, although you're tainted and it doesn't really work because it's like, you're in competition with men. Your personality changes. You become aggressive. You become, now you're a boss bitch or whatever. Like, it's just so stupid. Like, you really can't win. So it's like, either you buy a woman, meaning if she's going to be a quote-unquote traditional woman and stay at home, then you're paying for her because she's not going to be with you if you're broke. She's not going to be with you if you got a studio apartment or something. It doesn't work that way. Women know that they're a commodity. Women are selling themselves as a commodity. It is what it is. It's always been that way, probably. I mean, it really has, but it's even more pronounced in today's society because there's so much more money to be had by the average man. I mean, back in the farm days, it's like, yeah, you just build your own home by yourself. You get yourself a few cows and some sheep, and then you're good. And it's like true love probably existed better and in more instances back then because everybody didn't have shit, right? So it's like now it doesn't give an opportunity for her hypergamy to come into play. If nobody has anything, then then the love is probably a little bit more true. But now it's like you throw a rock in any direction, you might hit somebody who's got $1 million. I mean, there's a lot more rich people now. There's a lot more people who are well off. There's a lot more people who are doing a lot better than a lot of other people. And so, because we live in a better economy, even though the economy is going down right now, as it always is, whatever. But so, trad thoughts are basically lazy opportunists. They're looking for, and all women are like this to an extent. They're looking for a good opportunity. They're looking for a good situation, and they're selling sex to get that. And that's female nature. Exchanges sex for resources. Exchanges sexual intimacy for a top 10% man. So these trad thoughts, they want to stay at home and they want to play house, right? And they use convenient men, docile men. I call them idiots because these men think that, oh, because I'm a high earner and I got my woman, therefore I'm an alpha male. And this is what traditional men do, and woo woo. And they don't realize they're being used. They don't realize that because they don't understand female nature. Really, a lot of traditional men today are white knights. A lot of traditional men today are simps. And you can cry and whine and say, and be like, oh, we need to return to tradition and return to how things were, and our women need to be more traditional and blah blah blah. But women were always using. We're always. It's just the difference is that a lot of it today is less about survival and it's more about like politics. It's less about necessity and it's more about like flexing, like, oh, I'm doing my part to save America and da da da. And it's like we just live in a different era, man. Your wife is probably an ex-hoe. She's probably been out there and had her fun, and now she's ready to settle down. And you're the white knight that she chose. You're the beta nice guy. A lot of these traditional men who think they're alpha males are really just nice guys in disguise. They're really just beta males in disguise. If you have to put like I'm an alpha male on your like social media profile, if you have to put like I'm an alpha male like sticker on your truck or something, it's compensation. You're compensating. You're compensating for the fact that you're probably not an alpha male, right? And women look at that and they're like, here's a sucker, and they're like, okay, well, this guy has a house, he's got a truck, because these guys, they always got to drive trucks, because trucks are cool. Trucks are more alpha. Trucks make them feel cool, like they're alphas, right? And these guys, they have the attitude that like, oh, I'm going to provide for my family. Women are like, great. Yeah, I'm tired of going out and having sex with all these losers who don't want to provide, who don't want to stick around and raise my kids. Here's a guy who's like, oh yeah, I'm ready to provide for a family. That's awesome. That's what women want. This is why I say it's lazy opportunities, because they're having their fun and eating it too. They don't want these guys when they're 18. When a woman is 18, 19, 20, when she should be getting married, she doesn't want the nice guy provider. She doesn't want him until she's 28, until she's 27, 28, 29, 30. That's when she wants this guy. Because now, oh, you know what? I went to the bar for 5 years. Went out to the clubs for 5 years. I was on Tinder, slept around for 5 years. Now I'm gonna go back, and now I'm a born again virgin. I'm a reformed Christian. Oh, I've changed my ways, and they hide behind this shit. They hide behind that. Oh, I've changed my ways, and like trad thoughts are chameleons, right? They're chameleons, and they use these convenient, docile beta men, right, that they know won't cheat on them. That's one of the key, because if these guys were high value, they would have options. If these guys were high value, they would be able to sniff out an ex-hoe who's a reformed trad thought. They'd be able to sniff that out if these guys were high value. The reason why they're not able to sniff that out is because they're not high value, because they don't understand female nature. They're not red pilled, and they haven't been too experienced with women. The more experience you have with women, the more you're like, oh yeah, I can see through these tricks. I can see through these games. I understand that a lot of these women just are stay-at-home ex-hoes, right? So they use these docile idiots, that they know won't cheat on them, because, women know this. Women can sniff out pre-selection. Is this guy having a lot of sex with other women? They can sniff that out. They can just tell by the way you move, by the way you talk, by your posture, by your guy gets laid. And, is this guy really good looking? This guy is desired by women. He's probably not going to want to settle down. I'm not good enough for him, or he's probably going to cheat on me. A lot of times women will latch on to guys. I would say most of the time even women will latch on to guys who don't have any other options. This is I don't know if you say power play, but it's a calculated move, right, in order to lock down his resources. He's not going to cheat on me. I'm the best he can do. I have that confidence. I like that because I don't want this dude running around out here behind my back, right? So they're looking for these guys, these useful, convenient, docile guys who they know won't cheat on them in order to fund their stay-at-home lifestyle. It's all about the lifestyle, right? They don't want to go to work. They don't want to have to be these boss bitches anymore. They don't have that ambition. They want to be lazy. They want to be at home, drink a little wine, right? Raise their little kids. It's very easy to raise kids. I don't care what anybody says. It ain't no freaking hard job to change diapers twice a day instead to put in a movie for your kids. And it's only 5 years anyways before they start going to school for half the day. And then once they hit 8 years old, they're gone the whole day. They're gone from 9 to 3, right? So you got your whole day, once they're 8 years old. So really these women are only raising kids until they're 8, until they go to school. And it might even be 7 or 6, I don't know, kindergarten, but and that's it. And it's like, what an easy job. They don't have to worry about working 40 hours a week. They don't have to worry about bills. They don't have to worry about debt. They don't have to worry about paying the car note, paying the rent, putting food on the table. The man takes care of all that. All they got to do is stay at home, suck his dick once a week, right? Have a little sex with him, and that's it. Play house, pretend to be mommy, right? It's not the same thing. It's not the same thing as it used to be. It used to be an actual value. Oh, we actually hold values in family because family is very important. That's what traditional families used to be because they used to understand that it was very important to have families. Now it's like it's an overthought, or it's a they don't think about it. It's like, yeah, I got a family. It's not part of our culture. Family values are no longer part of our culture. It's just about the lifestyle now. And it sure is convenient to stay at home, right? It sure is convenient to, chill at home, drink some wine. Oh, I got this nice house. Oh, I don't have any stress. I don't have to go out and work because they probably tried that. Oh, I went out and worked and it sucks. It sucks working. Right? I'll let my husband take care of that. And all I got to do is be submissive to him. Sure, easy. It's in their nature anyways to be submissive to an extent, right? So there you go. It's a cushy job. No stress, no competition, no ambition. Just stay at home, make sure that he's a high earner, and guess what? If he loses his job, she'll jump on to the next dude. She's not going to suffer with him here. She was not there while he was suffering in college and studying, putting in long hours, trying to get ahead at his job. She was not there. She showed up before he started making, or she showed up after he started making 100K. She wasn't there before. She wasn't there when he was in, saving his money in a one-bedroom apartment. She was there after he got the house. She was there after he leveled up. Women wait around at the finish line and choose the winners. That's just female nature. So this is the problem with trad thought. This is the problem with these guys who are out here like, oh, get you a traditional woman, get you a Proverbs 31 woman, woo woo woo. It's like, unless she's 18, 19 years old, and you're 18, 19 years old, and she's a virgin, and she's never loved anyone else, and she chooses and loves you, and she sticks with you, and she's, not promiscuous and all, like, there's no such thing. It's just, it's a dream. It's a farce, all right? So, I just want to talk about these trad thoughts for a minute. It's been a couple years since I did a video about trad thoughts. Thought I'd bust out the old phone and talk about it. Anyway, I appreciate you guys listening to Jay Lee Northwest Podcast. Peace.